Yo. Just kidding.
I love it. Let's keep going. Just keep going.
Okay, cool. Yo, hey, what's up, man?
What's up?
It's Joe and Ray, and we are back at it. This little bonus episode. We just came off the Game Changer weekend. What a fantastic time. We actually got to invite Beau, who, if you remember from season 1, we had him in our Run It Back episode. We got to invite Beau back into this space. He's the executive director at Camp Living Waters, where this Game Changer retreat is held. And so Beau joins us for this episode. We talk about the games we played, the experience, why this retreat even exists, and just the atmosphere of the whole thing, and just really had a great conversation about just how fantastic this weekend was. And so with that, also, we do want to note that there was a number of designers that are in the Christian Board Gamers group that donated and gave us prizes to be able to give away, which was incredible. We talk about the giveaway in the episode, but we're actually going to take that a step further, and we want to have them listed in the notes here from so you guys can see all the games and some links to the products and stuff, because we really want to support these designers. They have been amazing, and they're donating games to not only the retreat, but other things that are going on. I don't know. I can't thank them enough. And so, we want to make sure that you guys can see who they are and click on the links and do all that fun stuff. And so we just had a great time having this conversation with Beau and just really working through the weekend. And we do have this reoccurring joke that I'll bring right to the front. Ray actually got to be present here at this one because the first Game Changer, he bailed on us by going on a cruise. The joke's way funnier in the episode than it was right there, but we're gonna run it. And with that, hey Ray, I am 98.3% certain that we got some sponsors. So where are we at?
Well, let me give you that extra 1.7% and say yes, we do have sponsors.
That was good math.
That's right. This episode was brought to you by Living Water Gaming. This is your one-stop shop for all your gaming needs. So visit livingwatergaming.com, and also Refocus Creative. Refocus Creative is a creative business marketing solution. If you go there and check out refocuscreative.com, they will help you out. So stop on by if you are a enterprising gamer or you need some help with your marketing on whatever you're doing. Just pop in, see what's happening. You might learn something.
An enterprising gamer. Absolutely love it. Yo, Matt.
That's right.
Hey. Oh, that was good. It was going to be a dope drop. And then, hey, Matt, why don't you cue that music? Let's get it.
Let's get it.
Welcome to the Christian Board Gamers Podcast, where we focus on Jesus, community, and board games. Let's have some fun.
What is up, everyone? You're listening to the Christian Board Gamers Podcast, and today we are going to go into this bonus episode. We're going to be recapping everything that happened at the Game Changer Board Gaming Retreat at Camp Living Waters in Luther, Michigan, and we are stoked because if you were with us last season, you know that you met Beau in the last episode, the Run It Back episode. We brought him back because we were like, man, we had so much fun with Beau. We're trying to make excuses to get him on the show. That was a totally dope rhyme. It was really good. I loved it, and we just had a blast. And Beau is the executive director and really the brainchild even a bit before behind this board gaming retreat bit and all that jazzerific jazz. So Beau, how are you doing this evening?
Couldn't be better. 2 nights of good sleep, probably 10 hours both nights.
Wow.
So I will take it.
10 hours. Wow. I haven't seen 10 hours of sleep in a long time.
Yeah. No, my wife understands after a weekend like that, I'm worthless unless I get a couple of nights of good sleep to bounce back.
Support. Well, praise God for wives that understand it and award that opportunity. Ray, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Joe. Thanks for asking, man. I'm excited to be here. Excited to have Beau on the show once again. And it's fun, man. We just came off a great weekend, like you said. So
yeah.
We got a lot of games to talk about, a lot of activities to talk about, a lot of awesomeness to talk about. So
Yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great because now all three of us have been to the Game Changer. Last time Ray ditched us for a cruise.
Yeah, weird, right?
Weird that he would go on a cruise with his family. But this
Crazy.
time Ray was with us and was playing games into the wee hours of the evening.
The wee hours. Oh man, yes.
But as you mentioned, man, we got lots of games we want to talk about and just really talk about the vibe in general. Man, it really was a fantastic weekend. That was an absolute blast. Now, Beau, from an expectation standpoint and having done one and this being the second one, do you feel like, this weekend from a Camp Living Waters perspective and just a guest experience overall, do you feel like this was just a step up? How did you feel about the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, we're only 2 retreats in at this point. So I keep going back to where were we when we first started talking about launching this thing? Well, I said, man, if I can get 20 people here, I'm going to pull it off. We ended up with 39. And upon further reflection of that 39, some of them were personal friends. Some of them were like, let's get people here. It could be a bit of a dud if it's only 12 people. And so we were kind of going out of the way to get people here. This last time we went less out of our way to just get, I didn't have all the invitations out to personal friends. We grew by 46% from spring until fall. And so as far as expectations go, there's no way I saw that coming.
Sure.
There's no way I saw that 39. Well, and the Christian Board Gamers group has grown exponentially. It really is taking off. And so just the increased exposure, the podcast being part, you guys have joined the, Love Thy Nerd Network, right?
Yep.
And so the increased exposure as far as that goes. But there's no way I saw 46% growth from spring to fall. I didn't see that coming. The energy that was here, I think everybody was a little in the spring. People were glad to be here. They were having a good time. There was just something absolutely different this weekend than what we saw in the spring. And again, I can't even put my finger on that, but people were just absolutely having a good time. People showed up early. They hit the ground running. Games were getting set up. There was very little structure prior to 8 or 8:30 that night on Friday night. And on Sunday, in the spring, a bunch of people ordered pizzas, and it was well, we might as well take a pizza on the road with me. This time, a bunch of people ordered pizzas, and they played until 2:00, and even some people here till 3:00, which was kind of the deadline for the end of the weekend. And so again, there's a desire to be together, and it was manifest in showing up early, staying late, and the energy that was here.
Yeah, I was feeling that too. So, Ray, for your first time coming, right? Obviously, again, as I noted earlier, you bailed on us in the spring, and you were here with us.
Thanks for keep bringing it up. I appreciate
that. I will throughout the. That's going to be my comic relief through the entirety of the episode.
Yeah.
From you,
Joe, I don't remember. Was Ray able to make the spring event?
He actually wasn't. No, he went on a cruise.
Something weird came up. Something weird came up right at the last.
Yeah, he was like,
Joe,
really I got this family cruise I got to go on. I tried to bail on it, but they're really pulling on me. So.
Weird emergency happened and I wasn't able to make it. So unfortunately, but this year I was there, thankfully. And to your question, Joe, about my takeaway was fantastic.
Yeah.
I absolutely had a great time. At first, even driving up there, I was not familiar with Luther, Michigan. I have driven up to Baldwin. We go to the UP all the time. This was out driving in the woods, down the dirt roads, over the hills to grandmother's house. We went it was back there, man, I must say, but it was beautiful. And it was a gorgeous ride up there. The sun actually was setting as I was hitting the corner and we were back in the woods. It was just a beautiful setting to even be in a place and have a camp. So that just started my weekend off oh, this is such a gorgeous campus here that was there. And then through the rest of the week, I mean, it was just like that. It was a beautiful experience is how I put it, because I met a lot of people. To be honest, I was out of my comfort zone. I had some friends back home that was like, hey, how was your weekend? I was like, I am a people person. I am an extrovert. I am a connector, go, high energy. And I was in the midst of real gamers, and I am new to the hobby, and I was a little bit out of my comfort zone, but everybody was so welcoming, and I got to play so many games and got to meet so many people and had so much fun. It was an awesome experience. And to top it off, the food was amazing, Beau. Yes, you did a fantastic job. I love to eat, man. And you did a great job feeding me. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no, thank you. Appreciate it.
If I ate the amount of food that Ray eats, man, I would be much heavier than I am now. But yet you look at him and you're like, wow, that's not even
Yeah.
fair, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's good. And I love
We all have our struggles.
Right, right. But I love that you said that though, Ray, where it's like, okay, you are relatively new to the hobby. Now again, you're new in some sense, but not in all. Like you try
Sure.
everything and have played
Yeah.
so many games. But the fact that you could come and that welcomingness where, this is what I love about the gaming hobby in general. It's like, yeah, let's sit down, let's play a game. Like you can come and be out of your element and someone's like, hey, you want to play? Hey, let's come sit down. And I absolutely love that. And I really agree. I felt like the vibe was so good, this go around, that just everybody was excited to be there, and the energy level was just buzzing, and I love that. I think it makes everything better. But because of that growth, Bo, we got to spread out a little bit more on the campus, which at first I was worried was going to kind of kill some of the synergy because you got people playing all over, and I don't think it did that at all, which was fantastic to have some different gaming areas that people could go to for different types of games and all that. And I felt like it actually worked really well. So, I don't really know how. There was a question that was formulating here. It was going to be a really good question, but it kind of popped off. But again, it didn't kill some of the synergy that I thought, and so I thought that was pretty good call on your part to create those spaces.
No, of the 60 to 65 players we had, there was usually 10 to 15 at least in the dining room, which is our secondary playing space, and 15, 20 people in the same space, 3 or 4 games going with 3 to 5 people each. Like that was enough to bring some, like you said, energy to that space. And it wasn't like they were the redheaded stepchildren. It wasn't like we were like, oh, the dining room crowd. We don't really talk to them. Like, no, there was enough going on over there, and it's not so far a walk that people grab games and just settled over there. Honestly, the round tables over there that seat 6 comfortably, some games just need that. Yeah. I know that they were playing, was it Kingdom Parable
Kingdom, by Andrew Harmon.
Sorry.
Yep.
But I know they were teaching that over there, and there may have been like 3 or 4 players, and I know that 1 or 2 people were sitting in and just watching the first time around. That wouldn't happen around the long tables that we have. So the dining room and our other 2 spaces that didn't get utilized because people arrive after dark and don't know where they are. But the dining room gets utilized, and the round tables facilitate some games better anyway. So.
Yeah, it was kind of funny because I taught Wonderland's War on Saturday night, which was super dope. That round table was perfect for it because we were able to use the room. But everyone was like, man, way to go, Joe. You were super strategic because there's pie and ice cream in here. And did you know that when you set the game up for the dining hall? And I said, no, I did not know that Bo was going to drop pie and ice cream. However, this is a benefit to us playing in the dining hall as the snacks were all right there. But yeah, Wonderland's War would not have worked on, one of those long tables. So having that space, having those larger circle tables, and we actually had 2 games of Wonderland's War going that night, which was actually really dope. But yeah, I agree. I think having that extra type of table and different type of game space was really positive. Ray, you looked like you were going to say something.
It also was cool because I was going around walking around just seeing what people were playing. Or if I would go from like the main area in to go get a snack or a drink, I wasn't just going into a place that was just empty. And, there were games that we played everywhere. So when I would go get a drink into the cafeteria area, I kind of walk around and see who was in there, see what they were playing, talk to them. So it was like wherever you went, there were games being played. And I think that just made an overall experience like this whole area is just gaming, wherever you go. And there's not any spot where you're ending up and feel like you're just away from the crowd. You're always part of what's happening, which was really cool. And even when I went back to the rooms, there was a little area in there that had a couple round tables, and there was a group of guys in there playing. I think they were playing Marvel, Legendary Marvel or Marvel
United.
Maybe it was Marvel United. I thought it was like Marvel
Legion. Marvel Legendary is a game. Yeah.
Oh,
I didn't see that game here though, so I don't think that was it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm lying.
Come on.
Just call me out on it. No, I don't remember. I know they were playing a Marvel game in there though.
Yeah.
My whole point being that everywhere I went, people were playing games. Okay, and it was awesome. It was great.
That's awesome.
Now I'm gonna have to message the guy who was playing it because this was very cool. So from the Revive Fest that we went
Yeah.
to like a couple months ago when we did a little we did our talk there and set up a gaming table and had some people come by, and Joe and I got to meet some people. We saw them at the retreat. They actually made it to the retreat, and it was fantastic, man. It was so cool to see them again and catch back up. And they brought their friends, and a couple brought their son. And so even just seeing people in the hobby, in the faith space come in and joining together and being there, it was just really cool to see them again. That was fun.
Yeah, it was amazing. I was shocked when I was like, "Wait a second, I was like, "You look super familiar." And they're like, "Yeah, we met you at the music festival." And then that other couple came and they're like, "We met you at the music festival." And it's like, wow, who would have thought that a music festival where we set up a game table and talk about discipleship evangelism through board gaming, which was a really cool little workshop, that it actually would convert to, "Hey, we're part of this community and we want to be there." And then is it Joel?
Yeah,
John? I don't know.
I think it's Josh.
Josh, yeah, where he brings some of his friends along, which I thought was really, really cool. And just again, that hunger for people to want to fellowship and hang out and play games and have that worship and praise time, which I felt was a powerful time. No, I'm not saying that because I was the speaker. That's really weird. That's not it. I just felt like God was moving in those spaces, and that the feedback that I've seen and have had private message was like, that was actually my favorite time of the retreat. And so, praise God that even in the midst of all the gaming, that people were really like, man, just being able to sit down and have worship time and message times, like this was what made it different. And one guy said very well, he said, we had our minds, filled with gaming. We had our bellies filled with food, and then we had our spiritual being filled with messages and worship and stuff. And I just thought that was a really cool picture of what was going on in the weekend, because we don't want to just be another gaming convention. Like these retreats are intended to be Christ-centric, right? Like we're Jesus followers before we're ever gamers, and that we can use gaming even to the glory of God, which was a lot of the first message and stuff. But I just felt like that was a unique dynamic in general, and so I do sorry, go ahead, Beau.
No, to that point, I mean, I think I probably said this last time I was on, but I'm going to say it again. I wouldn't do it if it wasn't missional.
Right.
Camp Living Water's mission is to serve and love people so that they may know and grow in Jesus Christ. So serving and loving so that they may know and grow, that's evangelism and discipleship. And if we're not doing that amongst our program, then I'll cancel the weekend, right? And so not just those sessions, the conversation going around at tables too, for sure.
Yep.
But if we're not pushing that, and I push it like on night one, I welcome everybody and I say, hey, just in case you think we're here to game, we're also here for Jesus and Jesus community, right? And so that's like the core of why Camp Living Waters exists and why we're doing it. And if we ever lose that, if we ever drift away from that, and I'm no longer here or whatever, I hope somebody cancels the event, because what are we doing?
Right. Yeah, no, that's huge, right? I mean, again, it literally boils down to like that's kind of the dream, right? Can we sit around, play games with other believers or non-believers that might want to go and they're curious about Jesus, right? And have great conversation, and then be able to say, all right, we're packing up all the games right now and we're going to spend the next hour and 15 minutes in worship. Through the word and through song. I thought Brad did an incredible job. Brad and Jay did a great job with worship, and just really leading us, in that space was awesome.
I thought worship was fantastic from the standpoint of we had, I don't know what was our total number, like 60 people or something like that.
It was 57 registrants, and then there was me and Joe, and I had a bunch of volunteers that were gaming every chance they got. And
yeah.
So that's why I said between 60 and 65 gamers.
60 plus people. And when we're in the worship space there, which we transformed the main gaming area into the worship space, and everybody helped out, set up chairs. And when we're worshiping, everybody's on their feet, man, and people are really getting into worship. Yeah. And for a place that was mostly, men of varying ages, everybody was really worshiping. Everybody was singing, man. Everybody was praising the Lord. And I just felt like, wow, this is amazing. Because, to see everybody in their element sitting down and so serious about the game and the board games and teaching and having that fun, to make that shift, to get into that zone of praising God and like you said, Bo, knowing this is why we are really here.
Right.
It was incredible, man. And I was like, actually, all these guys together sound pretty good. Like I was like, we sound pretty good. We're not bad for a bunch of guys in here singing, praising the Lord, man.
And
So
there was a few ladies in there that were
there was a
making, that
couple.
were bringing
There was a
in those
couple.
harmonies and making
Yeah,
it sound
yeah.
really full.
Yeah, took us over the top.
Yeah.
Yep. But no, it was a fantastic time of worship, man. I really
Agreed.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. Yeah.
I appreciate Brad. He brings a, I don't know. I feel like you can tell. No, that's probably too strong words. I was going to say you can tell the authenticity, but he brings an energy and an authenticity. Like, you know that he's worshiping God.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And so it's easy to join with him in worshiping God because he's not performing. He may or may not be particularly concerned with his vocals or his guitar because he just wants to worship God and invite others to do it with him. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah. And he took it serious. You know what I mean? That was very evident to me because he was asking me, all right, hey, what about this order? And where do we going to do this? And hey, does this align with your message? Where are we at with this? You know, and just, I loved that. You know, we had some preliminary conversations leading up to the event. We're still talking and through the event. Hey, the Spirit's been kind of moving here. What do we think about this, and this? And just being able to have that conversation with him was awesome. And then, like I said, I think him and Jay just stepped up kind of out of left field, was like, hey, I'd love to help with worship. I connected him with Brad, and then he was able to, you know, get some things going with slides and just to be able to play the keys. You know, he told Brad, and I was part of the conversation, he's like, whatever you need, I just want to help. And I love that because, you know, Jay, you know, he's a hardcore gamer, man. He's there, but he's like, I just want to help lead worship. Like, it's like, oh, that's amazing, right? And I love the fact, and this is something I think that was also really, really cool. Last time we had Lena and Luke, who I thought they did a great job as well, but they're not really like gamers, right? Like they're very casual on the side. They were just helping us with worship. They're good friends, and I think they do a great job, and they did. But I thought what was really cool this time is that you and Kurt, even who spoke last time, not really a gamer, but did a great job with the messages. This time we had Brad and Jay, who are in the community, and then myself, who are in the community. So it's like even more like this is full on like gamers worshiping Jesus fully, right? Like, which I thought was actually really awesome to see because there's just so many talents in the group, right? And you can see all those dynamics and personalities play out, and I just loved it. Now, I do also, we're going to segue a little bit here. I want to apologize to you, Beau, publicly. This is as public as I can get. As we were playing Dune Imperium, and Beau really was trying to work to get the win, and I think he was almost going to get it, and then he didn't realize that I had snaked a point and just took it. And I did say, I'm going to secure this so that Beau can't take it from me. And I wasn't meaning so that he couldn't win. It was because I couldn't do anything else in the game of any value. The only thing I was like, I'm just going to secure this 1 point. And Beau was getting ready. He's like, oh, I'm going to do this. And he looks down and he goes, wait, when did you get here? And I was like, yeah, I got there. And that's when I said, I'm going to secure this point so you can't take it from me because you were the next closest person to me. And it was just like this moment where I felt awful because Beau could not win the game because I took the point. And so that was my public apology.
Well, I think there was, between you and Scott, who we were playing with, I think there was an impression that I was very, very, very invested in my own win, because he has seeded the victory about 14 times. He did it on Facebook today. He did it in person about 3 times. Like, I'm very invested in a game up until the minute that we put it away, and then it's like over, right?
Yeah.
I was also, man, I said this on Facebook today, but I was also trying to get my hiney in the kitchen so I could put on the finishing touches for dinner.
Yeah.
That's not a way to play a game.
No,
man.
it was very frantic in the end. We're throwing water and what is it, Solari or whatever the thing is, and just dumping stuff everywhere. But we got it done, and that was my first time playing Dune Imperium. And I know you've played it a lot, Beau, and so it was good to sit down at the table and learn it. When I first started, I was exhausted, and then about halfway through, I woke up and I was like, "Oh, I'm in this game." And then I was like, "I would have done 100 things different," but I still had a really good time with it. I actually enjoyed The game itself, I felt like it was pretty easy to pick up and move into is from a worker placement standpoint. So it's definitely one I'd want to get to the table. And this time, I wouldn't just snake that 1 point. I would probably snake the win. That just
No, it would have played entirely different if you'd have been engaged from the very beginning.
Yeah, that's
there's
facts.
a conflict element to this game, and Scott was just running away with all the conflicts because you weren't participating in conflict at all. So it was like up to me to throw myself at the
Beau froze.
conflicts.
Oh,
and
there he is.
that's on some level. So
Yeah. No, I realized that later because I was sitting there. I'm like, I'm going to try to win without going into conflict. Then I was like, that's not going to work.
Have to.
I had to go into conflict. So I'm going to ask the question of both of you. Beau, we'll start with you, then I'll ask Ray. What was your favorite game of the weekend?
So I probably only sat down to 3 games the entire time. I just felt like my phone and my walkie and life was screaming at me the entire time, which is fine. Like I'm actually here to work, not just to sit down and game.
Sure.
So I'll reframe it. Like I love Dune Imperium. I'm glad that I got to sit down and play that one. The surprise for me was Deliverance. I am probably too quick to make up my mind about the way I feel about anything. And I played it once, most of a round in the spring at the spring event. And I just walked away like dungeon crawling and these nerd games, too high level for my brain. I just had this like bad attitude. It was a drag. I think we were deliberating or toiling over every single decision and every move, every turn. And so if you got 4 or 5 noobs at the table, one person who knows what they're doing and facilitating, 4 or 5 people or 4 people just beating themselves up over every single move. We were at it for like 4 hours and I didn't feel like we, first of all, accomplished anything or had a chance in the world of winning.
Yeah.
And that's just enough to beat it out of you. So I was able to sit down again and we did a skirmish instead of a campaign. And I think that was just a better, it was like an appetizer, right? It was like, this is the game. This is the mechanics of the game. This is how you navigate through this world that's been created without kind of the weightiness of, I don't know, like 17 different things going on at any given time. And so there might be 17 things going on as you move on in the campaign world, but you're introducing them a couple elements at a time rather than just baptism by fire, so to speak. Right. And just, so I found it a lot more enjoyable. I played another round. I don't know if it was called a skirmish or whatever, but we just got slaughtered.
Yeah.
Got slaughtered.
Andrew Lowen saw that picture of you and Kevin sitting down at the table, and he said that's actually one of the hardest setups. He's like, oh, man, they're playing the Highway to Hell. He's like, that's one of the hardest setups. I said, I will be sure to let them know.
But it's one of those things like, you play a game, and then you play it a second time, and you think, okay, what would I do differently? And already I was saying like, oh, I didn't understand how that particular enemy worked. I don't remember which it was. But like they had no range limitations. They just their attack option was get next to an angel and do harm.
Yeah.
No matter where that angel is. And it was like we were trying to keep our distance to restore health because we came out of the first part of the round so badly, right? Well, if they were going to come after us no matter where we were, we probably ought to have gone after them wherever they were as quickly as possible, because over where they were positioned at the beginning of the game were the people, the oppressed people, right?
Yeah.
And the more oppressed people on the map, the more darkness cards you get. And that's just those darkness cards just beat the stuff out of you, right? So it was like, okay, up against those. Well, and we also thought the big boss, which was Baal, was going to come at us. And it turns out he barely moves, if moves at all. Like that's not part of his big bad natures that he's going to move. We were scared of that. We didn't know what that was going to look like. And so, I don't know. It's a spiritual game, so you start saying things like, "Oh, we're not supposed to operate from a spirit of fear,"
Sure. Yep.
But I can see myself playing it. It is one of those things. There's enough elements and enough dynamics going on. Like you're not going to do great probably the first couple times until you really understand what you're up against. Probably.
Yeah, fair enough. So Ray, I'll kick you the same question.
Yeah, so I want to speak on that Deliverance a little bit because I actually got to sit down when we did that. It was actually, we set up the first scenario of the campaign when we played. I was with Beau and Kevin and a couple other guys that wanted to play Deliverance and learn it. And so it was I was gonna have a seat, but then somebody else wanted to join. I was like, well, I'll step out so that you can sit down and play, right? So I actually played the part of the demon. So when it came time to roll the die, and I was almost like the DM of the game, right?
Yeah.
And that actually was fun for me from that standpoint. Like Deliverance is just such a great game in general that, you know, speaks to me that from that standpoint, even being able to narrate and play the opposition and help strategize what was going on in the game, like what you guys should do, was fun. Just being part of the game from that aspect for me, which was really cool. I just think Deliverance is such a great game. But I played tons of new games, which was awesome. Most fun that I had by far was Thunder Road Vendetta. So,
Yeah.
bro, I probably played three. I think I played two games of the normal, and then we played one game of the expansion that had the big rig and the motorcycles. I played as the motorcycles. It it's just fun, man. It's just like a crazy game, and you're bumping into everybody. I'm sure everybody, maybe not everybody who's listening to this podcast has played it. If you haven't, definitely check it out. It's just a fun game. You're just smashing cars in the wall and shooting each other and blowing stuff up, and things are happening. It's chain reactions of chaos. And what was fun for it, what was really fun about it in my mind, I could see the cinematics of what was happening. Like it was like a movie on a board game, you know, like this car runs into that car and it bumps it into this car, and this car flies over there and it lands on a helicopter and blows up and it's out of the game. Like, I was like, okay, that's pretty sweet. I liked it. So
Yeah.
I have fun with that, man. That was high. I played Clank Catacombs, which was deck builder dungeon crawl. That was a lot of fun, and really enjoyed that. And then I played several other games that were really fun too. But then we ended the day on that. What was it? The Dungeon Cart.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like basically Mario Kart and a board game, and that was pretty fun. If we would have had time to finish that, that might have been fighting for my top spot at the retreat, but inadvertently the person who set it up chose, or one of the players had the option to choose like what the setup was, and chose the biggest option that they could for setup. That would have took like probably took us like 6 hours to get through if we would have sat down and played it. And it was like Sunday at 1. I was like, I gotta get home. I got some stuff to do. So
well, he did open. I mean, it's a teenager who set it up, and he said he was literally trying to stall so that his grandfather would not take him home. And then halfway through the game, he was like, we got to go. I got 20 minutes till I have to leave. And we're like, you set up this massive thing that we are not even halfway through, and now you've got to go.
We got through like maybe a quarter of it, but in that quarter, it was really fun. It was, I like the mechanics of it. I like the way that they laid it out, and was really fun. So
yeah, that one took me a minute to catch it, but then once I did, I was like, oh, okay, I'm having a good time with it. Yeah, no, that's great.
Ray, I want to jump in real quick, and I didn't know that you were supposed to be at the table with Deliverance. I didn't know that you weren't choosing that role. Man, having somebody just run the mechanics of the oppressors or fallen princes, or I don't remember how exactly it's characterized in that game, but like, just that's one more thing you have to do. You got to get the cards out. You got to roll the dice. You got to like do all that stuff. And I just think that helped keep it moving for me. Again, on the learning curve side of thing, like maybe I love that game, but if I'm bogged down by everything that has to happen, I quit before I get the chance to like it. And you playing that part meant we didn't have to.
Yeah.
So thanks for giving up your seat and hanging around anyway. It was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I was happy to do it, man. It sounds like we just have to get the right players to the table with you again, man, and play some more scenarios, because I'll play it anytime, anywhere.
Well, I'm looking to sell body parts of my own to see if I can't get it on my own shelf at some point.
Perfect. I'll drive all the way back up to Luther and let's make it happen.
Yeah. I mean, I love how that happened, though, because again, the first time you played it, you just weren't sure about it, but you were willing to give it a second shot, and you had a much better experience, which is awesome. Because when we talked about it, when we had Andrew on the podcast in our last episode, and interviewing him, like, what was really dope about that is I wasn't sure that I was going to like that game going into it, right? I wasn't sure that it was going to be something that really, jumped out at me, because I'm not a dungeon crawl guy, but Man, I playing with Kevin and Ray, it really just was an awesome experience, and I thoroughly enjoyed the game, so much so that I've even moved it on my shelf. You can't see it because it's like right behind me here, but I brought it into its new place because I've just enjoyed the experience. But
Something that struck me about that one again was how powerful the prayer cards are.
yeah,
Like,
super
you never
powerful.
feel like you should use a turn to pray because there's other things you got to do. I got to fight the bad guys, and then you pray, and you're like, oh, this card is awesome, and it will make the job so much easier. I
Yes.
needed to take a turn to pray, but it's like,
Yes.
Yep. Well, and
everything.
When we played it, I kept having that echo in my head when you said that in the Run It Back episode where you were like, oh, we got to pray. So I kept I did not hesitate to pray. I went and got prayer cards like crazy because I'm like, Beau said in this game that I need to pray, so I'm not going to miss that. And so I would just go get prayer cards. I didn't have a problem taking the turn to do it.
Then you learned the lesson better than I did.
Well, it's because I heard you say it. Had I not and just sat down and played, I might not have gone so quickly into those. You know what I mean? But I kept being reminded. I'm like, oh, Beau said I got to pray often, so I'm going to get in and I'm going to pray often. Yeah, I actually, it's wild because a lot of times in these settings, I don't always get a ton of games to the table, but I was actually able to get 8 games to the table, and I taught one, so I had 9 full game experiences, which were really cool, and I had a couple standouts. I really enjoyed our game of Thunder Road. That was just a ton of fun anyway, but I had played that one before, but I had a really great time playing Skyrise, which was not what I expected, man. I walked by, a couple of people had the game set up, and I was like, wow, that game looks beautiful. They had the full-on Kickstarter thing, which now I can never play the standard version because I played the Kickstarter, so that's a bummer. If I want to buy it, I'm out $125, so that's fun. But the game, it's just like this buildings, and you have these different size buildings. There's 3 different size buildings, and everyone's got their own color, and you're on this floating city, and essentially it's an auction bidding mechanic, which, again, when I looked at the game, and they were like, oh, it's an auction bidding game, I'm like, that doesn't add up, right? And then they're like, oh, and it's a complexity of like a 1.9. I'm like, that also doesn't add up. Like when I'm looking at it, I'm thinking this is going to be a complex strategy game, and like just because of all the kind of the glitz behind the game. And I sat down to it, and I was like, okay, I'll give this a shot. I sat down to it after I was kind of in the middle of teaching a game simultaneously. I was teaching Forges of Ravenshire to another group, and they were like, I think we got it, so go play. So I just sat down at the table and started playing Skyrise. Well, you guys were playing Deliverance, actually. And I absolutely loved it, man. I got smoked. But by the end of it, I was like, this is a really sweet game that could get to the table often if I had it at my house because it doesn't play overwhelmingly long. It's a giant point salad, but it's a really creative way of getting there. The game looks incredible. I had a ton of fun playing Skyrise. It was just really cool. Like the buildings are all, you flip them all upside down. They have numbers on the bottom of them, and you're placing them. And then the other player has to bid higher than you or pass, right? And if they bid higher than you, they place it and they have to do it in an adjacent space. And so there's a lot of strategy because it's like this area control game in the midst of it. And then you have like special objectives, just really fun, very simple, yet at times frustrating because you just couldn't get the thing you needed to get. And there's some cool bonuses. And so that was awesome. Now, the other one I want to talk about, it's a game we've talked about on the podcast before, and we decided to start it at 12:30 in the morning. And it was literally one of the best experiences I had at the retreat. As myself, Ray, Michael, and our buddy Chris sat down and played Dead Men Tell No Tales at 12:30 at night. And it was amazing. I mean,
it was an epic play.
It was so good.
Yeah.
We lost. It's a cooperative game. We lost. There's like 7 different ways to lose the game and 1 way to win. And we lost, but we had so much fun getting there to the point where it didn't even matter that we lost because we were just laughing hysterically because the ship is you're these pirates and you found a ship that is blowing up. It's on fire. And so you're going to go loot the ship. And it's kind of got a little bit of a dungeon crawl aspect where you're revealing tiles as you go. And as you're revealing them, they have fire things that are on them that are represented by dice. And as the dice hit, if the dice hits 6, rooms explode, and there's powder kegs that can explode if they hit certain numbers. And meanwhile, not only is the ship on fire, it's a haunted ship. So you've got a skeleton crew that you're dealing with. You're trying to get this treasure, and we had 5 of the 6 treasures looted. And the way the ship laid out was not favorable for us at all, and things were just blowing up everywhere. And we thought we had we thought we had everything under control, and then we got overwhelmed by the deckhands. But man, we were cracking up because things were just blowing up everywhere. It was mad cinematic, and just
and it was 2:30 in the morning, and we were a little sleep deprived playing, but it was so fun. You're right. That was a epic experience.
It's got to be one of my favorite cooperative experiences, because what I love about that game is that I have these 5 action tokens, and I flip them over as I use them. Each of my decisions actually feel like they matter. But one of the things I absolutely love about it is that if I don't want to, or think it's got a strategic advantage not to use all 5 of my tokens, I can hand them to the next player, and they now have additional actions to be able to do more things. And for me, it's just, I don't know, man. The more I've played it, the more I'm like, I absolutely love the experience this game brings. And so, I don't know, if you like cooperatives and you haven't checked out Dead Men Tell No Tales and you can get down on a pirate theme, that is definitely one that I would suggest. But that was, go ahead.
And if you play it, definitely play the Pirates of the Caribbean theme song.
Oh, yeah.
Soundtrack in the back, and it will just elevate your gameplay that much more.
And if somebody can role play, Jack, Captain Jack Sparrow, you'd be fine. Like, hey, like whatever you got, man. If you can find somebody to just do the hand motions and talk a little bit weird, but epic game. It was so much fun, and a definite highlight for me. And shameless plug here, but I got to play Victory 2.0 with a few people, and at the end of it, they were like, okay, this is a win, man. And especially Michael, he does a lot with Love Thy Nerd. He's a big gamer, and he told me, he's like, man, I just think this is a super fun game. He's like, I think you did a great job. So was just really, really pumped overall, but was also stoked to have 9 gaming experiences during the weekend, which was not always the case for me because I'm talking to people or running around and doing stuff. So
yeah, I probably ought to add to that, Joe. I ended up playing Meek Heroes Victory 3 times.
Oh, wow.
Twice with you. We set up a game as people were arriving, so that was really interesting, jumping up every 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And you doing things that I couldn't see while I was gone, so that's fun. But that's a fun experience because you haven't sent it, you're not published yet. Like the play testing and looking for flaws, I enjoy that. So I appreciate the opportunity. We always play, it seems like we're play testing 2 players, and I think that exposes some things that may not get exposed with larger play tests. So that's fun. And then I was able to teach it, and Ray was like 5 feet away when I had to run out. I was like, Ray, here's my deck, go. So I have no idea how that game panned out. We were really close.
Yeah, I think you set me up to win, but I came in not knowing what was going on. So then the very next turn, I was like, I'm just going to grab some gems. And then one of the other guys was like, well, I'm going to fight this principality, and just blew him out the water. So I was like, sorry, I let you down.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get these gems.
There were two other guys playing, I think. So it was me and 2 other guys. So it was a 3-player game, and they were both new. And man, when you're playing people who haven't played before, and the past year is almost free game because they're not going for the cards that will play well if you get them. Like, I do what I want to do, and then I sometimes get so far ahead that I'm like, I'm just going to chill a little bit because I actually want them to have fun.
Yeah.
Scott, who was playing, could not get a victory. He drew a principality like right out of the gate that was +10. So he was on his first henchman for the entirety of the game. So
I saw that.
Yeah, he asked me
frustrating for him.
Yeah, he said, Joe, does it normally happen where you have a 53-point SP henchman? I said, no. And he's like, well, that's what happened to me. And I was like, awesome.
Yeah.
but he still said he enjoyed it, so that was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. Well, what happened was when I came in, like the very next play after I grabbed some gems, Scott actually, I don't know what he did or whatever he played was where we had to shuffle, and he must have played one of the redeemed henchmen, and we had to shuffle and then give the top card to the person on your left. And so you had the Gospel of Peace in there, which negated all automatic losses, and inadvertently, I mean, like, I gave the gospel of peace away, and that's why the other player won, because he had the gospel of peace when he fought the principality. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess it was your time to win.
So are you saying the gospel is powerful? Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm saying the gospel of peace is very powerful.
That's
Yes,
a super powerful card.
yes, it is.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. Yeah. So any other highlights? I mean, we're coming up on 40 minutes. I know we talked about with the bonus episode. We didn't want to go too crazy. We want to keep y'all engaged. But any other highlights? What are some things that we haven't talked about yet that you feel like should be talked about?
I wanted to jump in. The welcome session, like I know we don't do like a session where there's teaching and worship, but there were people who were glad to be here. And I'm not always particularly good at working the room. You put me behind a microphone and sometimes I freak out and my hands shaking and stuff. And I was up there and I just doing my thing, and like they were glad, they were happy about it. Like everything, not because I'm particularly funny, but everything was landing well. Like you could just tell these people wanted to be here and they wanted to have a good time. And that is so much easier to do that job when you got that kind of a crowd, right?
Yes.
And so we seem to be building a little bit of culture just after 2 events, and I appreciate that. Like there's some inside jokes growing. Like if you've been to Game Changer, there's some inside jokes, and I'm like, this is a good thing. This points at people coming and having a good experience and being willing to invite their friends to come up and have a good experience. So I don't know, I just felt like the right kickoff to the event. And then Joe, you and I were doing the random draws on Sunday morning because we failed miserably to do them throughout the weekend. And even then, like we didn't have a plan, we didn't script how funny we were going to be or anything, but like everything was just fun. They were excited to have the drawings. They were excited to come up and get the games, and it was so much fun, and it played well, and the guests seemed to have a good time. So that's reflective of the spirit of the event, right? That people are coming, they're excited to be at the table. My eyes are increasingly open. This is the last highlight, and then I'll pass the mic, but my eyes are increasingly opened to the need for folks. Well, everybody needs community, and there's a whole bunch of church people who pretend that they're living in community because they ask someone how they're doing every Sunday morning, right? How you doing? Good. How you doing? Good. All right. I'm a Christian and I have Christian community because I just did that. There's a crowd, and we call ourselves nerds, and this group calls themselves nerds, and there's Nerd Chapel and Love Thy Nerd, and it's not derogatory, but it is a crowd of nerds, and some of them are nerds, right? Like they play these super big brain games that like my brain would melt if I played some of the games these people play. And with that, they are seeking community, and they are finding it by the grace of God. We had this crazy idea of doing a board game retreat. By the grace of God, they're finding community around the gaming table. They're finding like-minded people. I don't just mean like faith like-minded, but people who are interested in the same kinds of things that they're interested in. And the table is so welcoming. And I think more so than other hobbies. Like I love teaching. If there's something that I love to do, like I like cooking, I want to teach people to cook, and I want to see them enjoy cooking, right? We all got to eat. And cooking can be a chore, or it can be less of a chore, or you could even enjoy it, right? And so when there's an opportunity, I teach that. The gaming table is full of people, like big brain, complicated, strategic games. And a guy will say to a total noob, "Hey, sit down, we'll teach it." And I can look like an idiot and ask what look like idiot questions. Like I'm so far down the scale of like, and it's not self-deprecation. It's just I don't play those kinds of games, man.
Yeah.
But I sit down and there's no, oh my word, I can't believe this guy's at the table with us, or I can't believe I have to answer this question for the 14th time. It's just they're excited to be teaching something that they love.
Yep.
And I don't think there's a lot of hobbies that have that same just, we don't care about your experience level, sit down. We'd love to have you join us. And it's so much fun to watch. It's so much fun to participate in.
Yeah, amen. You had mentioned the giveaways. One thing I want to say, too, is Brad had set up that board game bingo, and I actually thought that was sweet, but what was even sweeter was watching people do it, right? And, like, people being like, man, I love that. And someone showed up, they're like, you know what I love the most about this is this middle row that required me to go and play with different people.
Yep.
And they're like, I can't just play with my friends because this says I have to try to fill these spaces in and have 20 different people that I've played games with. And I was like, I love that you love that, right? But I thought that Brad's little touch on that board game bingo was awesome, and
Yeah,
I
it was
loved
genius.
watching people pull that sheet out and cross off a thing because I think it gave everyone a different, unique experience.
Yep.
And then to have that be raffled off and win a cool prize, I think was awesome. And so I really, really, really liked that. Yeah.
That bingo was contagious. Like when one
Yes.
person pulled out their paper, somebody else was like, "Oh, where's my paper? I gotta fill that out too."
Yeah.
Like it was a chain reaction,
So
and
good.
that was a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
And there's a couple things like the bingo that they're going to get refined. It's going to get better with time. You know, we
Yep.
introduced the whiteboard as a tool for bringing people together, and
Yep.
each time we've only done it twice, but we've got good feedback on the surveys. I'm really excited to refine these things and make them better for the guest experience. That bingo is going to get better. I promise. It's going to have better parameters, and people are going to understand what the goal. Every time somebody came to me with a question, I was like, I don't know. Brad wrote it. Go find Brad. I didn't have any answers, but in the future, it's going to be better. So
Yeah.
That I was gonna say to the whiteboard. I know one thing that kind of spoke about last year that I heard was there was some analysis paralysis because there were so many games, right? And people were trying to figure out what to play, when to play, who's playing. And so being my first time, because I was on a cruise with my family last time, if nobody knew that, there was not that analysis paralysis for me. Like sorry, I had to slip that
No,
in
it's
there.
good. I almost just spit water all over my entire
Yeah,
setup.
I'm glad you took a drink right at that time. But I mean, I could see where there were games being played, where there were tables open. I didn't feel like there was ever a time where I was just stuck like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do, or I'm overwhelmed. I found that there were always people to play with, other people looking to play games, even if it wasn't on the board. Hey, are you free? You want to sit down here? I was sad that I was actually in a game of Thunder Road Vendetta because Jay actually asked me to play Dune Imperium, and I did want to get to it, but I didn't get a chance to. But
Dune Imperium?
No, I think
Dune?
Jay would have been asking you to play the original Dune. Yeah.
Dune,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It must have been Dune. Yeah, must have been
that's
Dune.
his
Okay.
thing, man. That's his
Okay.
game, man. Him
Okay.
and his son, they'd sit there all day. And
Oh
play
yes,
that.
yes. So it was a regular Dune. Yeah. So I was like, sorry, I'm already in a game. But just to the point being, I think that it was really well done and thought out this time that the games ran smoothly, games continued to play, and people weren't stuck like trying to figure out what to play when. As I saw it, everybody was always playing all the time. There was no downtime, no lag time, And to the giveaway, that table was full of games. There were some great games there that were donated to give away. I don't know how many games you guys gave away, but there was a bunch. And so that was really cool to see. Another thing for people to be excited about all weekend, that opportunity.
And they were excited, which was really cool. I mean, people were really like, man, when are we going to do the giveaways? Like, they were excited. So, a huge shout out to the Christian Board Gamers community, man. Like, Andrew Lowen donated a copy of Deliverance, which was fire, right? And naturally that became like the game of the giveaway. But Brian from Unfiltered Gamer donated a copy of Gnome Hollow, which is an incredibly popular game right now, and so people were excited. Jack Dunbar, with the New Kingdom Gamers, Gardeners and New Kingdom Sowers, which was really cool. We had I can't remember the name of their company, just this, Nate with Bible Brawl. And we just had even one of the attendees came and he was like, hey, I want to add this to the giveaway, and he had created 3D inserts for Forest Shuffle and Arc Nova, which was really cool, and like people just being excited about that. And there were other things that we got to give away and experience. And yeah, I agree, man, that was a really cool, amazing thing, because these designers or reviewers, like, they didn't have to do that. They chose to. They want to be a part of it. They want to continue to breed this Christian culture around gaming, and I just think that is so cool. And I just simply asked the question, like, hey, we're doing this, is anybody interested? And people were like, yes, absolutely, let's make that happen. And oh yeah, man, you had Mere Pursuit, right, with the company Mere Pursuit. He put together a whole game package where he gave a couple games away in that, and in a book, and he's got pocket games, so he's got this like cool wallet thing that goes. It's just a really, really neat neat experience and just be able to be a part of that. And I always feel weird because I don't want to over ask, you know what I mean? Or like be like, hey, we're doing this thing. Can you guys donate again? Like, that's not my heart, right? And I don't, and I don't think people think that it is, but it's like, it's just been so neat, I think, in general, to see how generous so many of these, Christian designers have been within the community, because they just want people playing their games, and they want to continue to help breed that culture and provide Christians with some solid alternatives that they can play. And I can't speak enough on some of these cats, dude. I've been blown away by their generosity and their commitment. It's been super cool.
Well, and writing on that, and a shameless plug, like I put out a SOS to all the attendees about games that were sitting on their shelves that they don't need, and not a lot showed up, but several people talked to me about donating. We got to build a game library at Camp Living Waters. I can't always count on the generosity of people bringing almost 200 games. Like, it would be good for Camp Living Waters to have our own game library, especially, shameless plug, since we're launching Game Changer Family Edition in February. So like, this is a new animal, and we might get families that they want a weekend away, and playing some games together sounds good, but they may not have 50 games that they want to bring with them. And so I appreciate the generosity and people just recognizing the need of what we're trying to do and getting on board in that way too.
Yeah, and that's not a shameless plug. I was going to end the episode by sharing exactly what's coming up, but so we can segue into that, because we're already there. So yes, as you just heard, boom, spoiler to the spoiler alert. There is a Game Changer Family Edition, man. Beau had this idea, again, just how can we bring families to the table and have this camp experience. There'll be a couple even different activities, because maybe young kids aren't going to sit at the game table for 12 hours like I would. And, so there might be there will be some other activities that can go on and different things that people can do, which is really cool. But that is going to be February 14th through the 16th. So you will have that opportunity to be on the website. We're working on the landing page and all this fun jazzerific jazz, so that people can register for the family edition of the Game Changer. And then Game Changer Spring, we're telling Ray now so that he doesn't book a cruise. Game Changer Spring will be April 4th through the 6th. And then Game Changer Fall is, again, September 19th through the 21st. And that's in 2025. All of those are in 2025, naturally, because
I want to add to that family, if there's anybody listening thinking like, oh, yeah, maybe I take my family. I know it's February, it's winter time, but I walked around the campus. I know it's, a little bit colder, whatever, but it really is beautiful. There's a lake there. There are people out there canoeing. There are people out there fishing. There was
February.
Yeah, not in February, no, but maybe ice fishing. Who knows?
Yeah.
Your kids were out there fishing.
If we've got snow, we've got the tubing hill, and we plan on opening that.
Got the tubing hill.
Families are going to need a break from the game table. I mean, my son has been so angry at me since I launched this thing and put a 12 and up age cap on it. But each Game Changer, I'm further persuaded that age minimum is good.
Yeah.
I don't know that younger kids could handle the sheer amount of gaming and probably an awful lot of losing that would go on. But Game Changer Family Edition allows for my son, who's almost 11 and under. But we got to break it up. So we're going to have some craft options. I'm actually highly considering getting some blank playing cards off of Amazon and just like letting kids explore their imagination. Like, my kids love building their own game, and they don't make any sense, and they're miserable to play. But they're using their imaginations. Yep. They take their enjoyment of playing the games that they do know and apply it to this giant piece of poster board. And so that might even be in the craft barn. Like I said, we got the tubing hill. So breaking up the day, probably not with canoes or paddle boats with no plugs in them.
Or archery, or a shooting range, or hiking the trails. I'm just saying, listen, I like wintertime. I like being outside. That maybe I'm weird. I don't know. But I would go out and do that stuff. So just wanted to throw that out there, that if you are going to bring your family, there are other things to do. And in the spring and fall, it's a beautiful campus. So just things to be thinking about as those are coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll have those dates all in the YouTube notes and all that jazz. jazzerific jazz. I don't know why I keep saying that, jazzerific jazz. I'm just going to run with it. But hey, this has been great, man. I have really appreciated it, Beau. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us yet again.
Thanks,
We were looking for another reason to get you on here, so this works perfectly. So, but
Thanks
yeah,
a lot.
thank you all for taking the time and tracking with us. We hope that you would consider attending a Game Changer retreat here at Camp Living Waters whenever it makes sense for you. Yeah, it's in Michigan. We had somebody come up from Pittsburgh this last time, and I asked him, was it worth the trip? And he said, absolutely, this has been a great experience. So
I talked to a guy from New York.
what?
Dude, he came all the way from New York. His dad told him about it. I was like, hey, how'd you get here? He was like, this was so
Ooh.
funny. So he says, which actually I thought we should have said who came the furthest. But anyways, we're at the table. We're actually it was who I was playing with when we were playing. I took over for you in Victory, and I was like, where are you guys from? He said New York, and I was like, oh wow, how'd you get here? Like thinking like, how did you hear about this or whatever? He was like, buy a car. I drove.
Yeah.
I was like, yep, I should have asked the right question to get the right answer, because you
That's
definitely answered my
that's
question.
so
But
good.
yeah, he heard about it from his dad. So all the way from
Wow.
New York. Yes.
Wow, I did not realize that. That's amazing. Yeah, I thought Pittsburgh was the furthest, but New York would definitely win that. So again, really, really dope to see that happening and what God is doing. And so, yeah, would definitely want to encourage you to make it out to one of these, just because it's a phenomenal time. And so, with that, as always, we like to end our episodes with Matthew chapter 5, and we would just say to let your light shine before others in such a way that they would see your good works and glorify our Father who is in heaven. So thanks again for tracking with us. We hope you have a wonderful and blessed week. Peace.